A wrap on the and review on the Samurai system. Great battles of history. Components, the standard GMT fare, the armored box, nice big counters, the handful of player aid cards. You get 3 of them. You get a couple of things that were published in C3I now that I wouldn't really want to play the game without. They're very helpful, keeping track of, how many activations you have, how many severed heads you've captured, etc. I haven't played any other games of the Great Battles of History series. I'm not sure. I've said several times while I'm playing, the games that I see in the scenarios here, up until Sekigahara, too often felt like everything had a lot of mobility. Now, I don't know the period well enough to be able to really say if that makes sense, but it felt more like it was simulating either untrained bands of troops, which I know is not the case, or a cavalry battle. Stuff could, just in terms of how far you can move and how many pulses you can get, getting 3 activations in a row or whatever. Of course, good leadership and a clever enemy can prevent you from taking advantage of something like that by trumping. But there were definitely times where that didn't seem to be a clear option. Now, maybe part of it is as I got more used to the game and the system, I got more used to how to prevent the enemy from really exploiting my flanks. Sekigahara, however, has a lot of troops on the board. It also has the Teppo integrated into the infantry, which definitely changes the nature of the game in my view. It makes it a lot harder to make those outflanks, a lot more unreasonable to risk making them when you could sit and defend. Defending is so potent in that scenario because you charge up against somebody to attack them and they're unleashing a fury of fire at you. But for the rest of them, attacking seemed to be a huge advantage. Now, Nagashino, Oda's in a very strong defensive position, and he's got a little bit more firepower than in earlier scenarios. So attacking was harder there too, but not as hard as in the last scenario. But in the early ones, attacking was so easy, and it almost felt like, especially the cav units, felt almost like armored knights in terms of, they could just charge through anything. The infantry, I wasn't as familiar with the withdrawal rules, as comfortable with them, so that may have had a lot to do with why it felt so chaotic early on with those. I think the rules for for the reaction withdrawal do reduce the chances of it turning into a whirling mass, but on the other hand, withdrawing is hard. In the sense that you can't have, you have to have space to withdraw to, for one thing, which isn't always very easy to do. But also, if you withdraw at one place, well, then you've exposed another flank and another one, and one cav unit can kind of pin the whole line almost. It's kind of hard to explain, but basically you strike on one side with the cav unit, you've locked it, and now you can slam the front with your infantry, and the opponent's not going to withdraw from the front. That just weakens their line. But eventually they come to the point where they have to choose, do they want to withdraw the other flank? And without a lot of troops on the board, there isn't a lot of ability to cover your flanks, especially in the first one, the Okizama. You had little units, but that's kind of the thing. You have little units engaging each other, and it's very easy to do outflanks and Oh, what else do I have to think about? So, I think with some slight modifications, maybe in movement allowances, maybe number of units, this might actually work fairly well for, say, phalanxes. And I am definitely interested in picking up some of the other games in the system. One thing that worries me a little bit, I don't know how much fun it is to play for me. This is the fiddly aspect of a game. Especially in the big scenarios, you're putting counters down to remind you what the hell you're doing, especially if you're activating some of the larger units. And I feel like probably the phalanxes and such not, you're going to have that kind of unit density for the battles to seem at all reasonable. And if that's the case, you've got a lot of that fiddly aspect where you're marking units engaged left and right. You're marking them that they have to make a quality check, or they don't have to make a quality check, but they're attacking anyway, or they're charging cav. And it's a pain in the butt, and it's very tiring. On the other hand, this is the most realistic feeling, seeming board game for Ancients that I've played. Maybe. I seem to remember something by GDW called Raffia being simpler to play and feeling very right. But we'll see. I'll play that again. I'll play that at some point to give views on it. Not a lot else to say. I mean, if you like GMT's components, you're going to like these. I have mixed views on them. Maps are a little, I don't know, they just don't look exciting to me. Maybe they're too colorful. Counters are too glossy, maps are too glossy. I was worried that the counters were going to be too big for the hexes because I've had that with other games. They didn't annoy me here. I guess they were a little smaller than in the game that did annoy me, or the hexes are a little clearer as to what's in them. Alright, I'm going to let this one go. I don't feel like I did a lot towards explaining, giving a good view on it. Oh, the samurai rules are kind of cool, the individual combat. I think that's one of the more exciting things in the game that the other games in the system don't have. Being able to challenge someone and force them to fight, or reduce their effectiveness and actually prevent them from making another action for not. There might be some other situations where that would make sense, like Germanic tribes fighting each other or something, I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely an added little bit of fun to the game. And it adds some options where you have units that are active, but you want to hold them on defense. You can send a samurai out and maybe just prevent the enemy from attacking by killing their leader, or make their attack less effective by making them lose face. Alright, I'm going to call this one here. I should be going on to a Most Dangerous Time, if I can get the energy up for it, as the next thing. Having trouble rereading the rules on that, though. They're not pleasant. These rules were easy.